America needs a tidal wave of the old-time religion.
I have sinned against you.
How dare you!
We have no need to doubt God.
The harlot Babylon is preparing the nations to receive the Antichrist.
I didn't even build that house with money from the church. I built it with money from my book.
I don't make this stuff up.
Repenting of your sin.
It is a moral issue.
They got together and swore a pact to the devil.
I just enjoy seeing people worship, praising God.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Believe It or Not.
The show where you believe it.
Or not.
Exactly.
I'm Trevor Poelman.
And I'm Damien Doepping.
How was your day?
It was good. Except I got rained on.
I know, it's a rainy day.
Who makes the rain?
Who makes the rain? God, actually.
Oh, well, thanks a lot for getting me wet.
Yeah.
My jeans got wet, you know, like when you have an umbrella and
Yeah.
your top bit's okay, but then your ankles get damp and your feet.
Yeah. And then you get splashed by puddles.
And my new
drivers splash you.
And my new backpack got wet.
Oh, man, you love that backpack.
It's brand new and it's wet.
You're just always talking about how much you love your new backpack.
Bullshit.
So I was scrolling through Facebook the other day, right?
Yeah.
Familiar with Facebook?
Yeah, that's the old Zucks thing, right?
Yeah, Zuckerberg started it. You know him?
Yeah, I heard of him.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, I was scrolling through Facebook, and our friend Steffi, Dito Menicantonio.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know celebrities. No
whatever. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares? She had a picture of herself when she was a kid holding a snake.
Yeah.
And then she had a picture of herself recently holding a snake.
Yep.
And I commented, too scary.
Yeah.
Because
the progression of life from childhood to adulthood.
Yeah, it is scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an old man. I don't know what's happening next.
Youth frightens you.
Yeah, and snakes.
Oh, and snakes. Are you afraid of snakes?
I don't know. I was telling you earlier, I've never touched a snake. I just have no desire to touch one. I can't think of a single time.
Okay.
And I grew up in the country. We had garter snakes around. We had those big black rat snakes. Have you ever seen those? The rat snakes? They're like huge, like 6 feet long snakes. Never touched it. And I was like, no, I'm good. They're not poisonous or anything, but I'm not touching that bullshit.
Okay. What are you worried about?
Just no thank you. I don't know. I guess I'm like the Indiana Jones of this podcast.
I guess. I know a lot of people think snakes are slimy. They're not.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, I know that from book knowledge.
Have you ever had a pair of snakeskin boots?
I haven't. Let's see. I think I've touched a lizard.
Okay. So similar idea.
Yeah. The devil disguised himself as a snake. Actually, in the Bible, it doesn't say the devil. We're getting off.
They made that part up?
Yeah, the part about him being the devil.
That's bullshit.
It was just a talking snake. It wasn't the devil. But anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about
We'll talk about that another day.
Snakes. We're here to talk about Mo Sislak's religion.
Moses?
Mo Sislak.
Oh, Mo Sislak.
Yeah, his religion. Snake handling.
Oh, you should join my religion, Mo. It's great. No hell, no kneeling.
Sorry, Homer. I was born a snake handler and I'll die a snake handler.
Do you know much about snake handling?
Outside of what I've seen in movies, not much. Is that where like in a religious context you mean, right?
Yeah, in a religious context.
Yeah, I've just seen it where it's like with like cobra handling and they'll touch the back of its head or whatever, and then I can hypnotize a snake with the power of
this is different. Yeah.
Okay.
So I brought my handy student Bible here.
Cool.
This is NIV. So these people would say this is the devil.
Wait, before we get into it though, snakes.
Yeah.
You don't like them.
I don't like them.
Would you touch one if we had one here right now?
Yeah.
If everyone was holding it and said, listen, it's not that bad, it's just a snake, children touch them, it's okay.
I guess. I would tap it with my finger.
That's fair.
I wouldn't hold it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, snakes I'm fine with. Like spiders and bugs, I fucking hate those things. So
I'm okay with bugs. I will not touch
you get the bugs,
rat.
I'll get the snakes. Yeah, rats can suck it too.
Yeah.
I hate rodents.
Ugh, so the worst.
That's why I like snakes. They eat the rodents.
Yes. But I have my Bible here. I have my magic book. But this is the New International Version. of the Bible.
What makes it new and international? It's all in English, so
it's all in English, so it's not really international. It was more into. It was one of the first ones to be in modern day English, as opposed to like.
Oh, like when they do those No Fear Shakespeare, but with
and it's also a translation from the original sources. The New International Version is different than the King James Version because the King James Version was translated in the 1600s before they found some earlier manuscripts. So it's going to be a little different. So the King James Version has this chapter in the Bible, in its Bible, but all other versions either don't have it or have a disclaimer before the part here. So you see in my Bible here, it has a little disclaimer saying that earlier manuscripts and earlier witnesses
that don't
have it. So Origen, who we talked about in the Apologetics, he wrote about the Bible and for some reason skipped over this chapter like it didn't exist.
Yeah.
Earlier manuscripts just didn't have it. So they're pretty sure it was just added later. Okay. And it's just kind of like this. So this is Mark. It's the first book that was written of the New Testament. The first gospel that was written of the New Testament. And it has some advice that Jesus gave before he went up in the space elevator to heaven.
Oh, he took a space like in Willy Wonka?
Yeah, like in Willy Wonka. But he says, "Go into all the world, preach the good news to all creation. Whoever believes and is baptized will be saved, but whoever does not believe will be condemned. And these signs will accompany those who believe. In my name they will drive out demons. They will speak in new tongues. They will pick up snakes with their hands. And when they drink deadly poison, it will not hurt them. They will place their hands on sick people, and they will get well."
They will pick up snakes with their hands.
And drink poison.
So
most of these churches, they have snakes in the front, and they have jars or glasses or bottles of poison in the front.
So this just sounds like a way to get rid of the dumb people in the church that people don't like.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So this started...
I don't know if it is, but that's what it sounds like.
There's also another verse that says they will tread on serpents and they will not be harmed. That's from Luke, and there's a part in Acts where the Apostle Paul gets bitten by a snake and he's not harmed.
Probably a non-venomous snake.
Besides this one, which is questionable, those ones are obviously like saying God's going to protect you. It's not saying go out and
go and do it. No, it's, yeah.
Yeah. This one's, it could be saying pick up a snake because you'll be fine. Also, I don't know if you remember, but we talked about how there's contradictions in the Bible. And the Bible also says, do not test the Lord your God. So...
Yeah, which do you want? Do you want us to test it or do you want us to not test it?
But, so so we talked about the holiness movement before, right? This guy came out of the holiness movement, and his name was George Went Hensley.
Okay.
So he was a holiness preacher, and he read this chapter in Mark, and he said, "We gotta take this literal. Like we gotta."
So he started just picking up snakes.
Yeah. So he would get poisonous snakes and bring them into his church. So when they're singing and dancing, he would pick up a snake and he would dance and
sing with
the snake in his hand, or he would hold it while he was preaching the word of God. And he started traveling around the Southeast, basically in the Appalachians, Kentucky, Tennessee. He would go around preaching that this is the sign from God, that you have got rid of the sin in your life and you're holy now before God. And as a result, you can pick up a snake and it will either not bite you, or if it does bite you, it won't harm you. This was in 1910 he started doing this. So basically, if you have the Holy Spirit's going to protect you. And these churches started popping up.
Were these like more like the revival tent kind of things?
Yeah.
Where they would travel around and they'd have the little show with the snake?
Yeah. And so it just became this thing where it never caught on huge. Like it was never like a huge thing.
A little more niche.
109 years later, we still have about 40 or 50 of these churches that exist. Mostly like small family churches.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it now is just tradition for them.
Yeah.
Like they're so used to it that's what church is now.
Yeah. And despite the fact that this guy went around saying you can't have sin in your life, apparently the story goes that he was just drunk all the time. Like he was just always drunk out of his mind. But the people who still like follow what he preached said that like that's just slander or whatever. But he was married and divorced 4 times. So,
well, then maybe that's why he was drunk all the time.
Maybe.
Or he was drunk all the time so he didn't feel weird about handling snakes all the time.
Yeah, maybe he was afraid of snakes,
or
as he should be, because, he died in 1955. Do you want to guess how he died?
Bit by a snake?
Bit by a snake.
Aha!
Yeah.
I guess it was all that drinking that he wasn't free from sin no more.
Yep, I guess not. Yeah, I was watching this video today of a guy who was a snake handling preacher.
Yeah.
And it was a very small church. This guy in this video, his name was Cody Coots.
Cody Coots. We know a Cody Coots.
Yeah, do we? Well, no. We know a Cody Crane.
Close enough.
So what they would do is him and his friends would go around looking for rattlesnakes, and they'd put them in boxes, and then they would, Sunday morning, they would bring it into the church, and the worship service, they have those boxes, and they say, if you're led by the Spirit, then go pick up these snakes, and then you can hold them while you're singing and praising God. And he would hold them like while he was, In the video, he gets bit by a snake right in the ear. It starts bleeding everywhere.
Oh, I think I've seen this video.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've seen this one before.
Yeah, and he starts bleeding everywhere, and he's like, don't take me to the hospital. And his friend takes him to the hospital. Yeah. They put tube down his throat or whatever so that he can breathe. Yeah. And then, they helicopter him off to another place, and it was like touch and go.
Oh, yeah, because you have to get treated fast for some of these.
He was like, bring me to a mountaintop. Either God will heal me or he'll take me because it's my time. And his friend's like, I don't know, you don't believe it. I'm just not going to do the accent. I know you don't believe it, but I'm going to take you to
the hospital.
Yeah,
where you can get the anti-venom.
And it was, it's like he has a couple small kids too. Like, what are you doing?
Care.
Yeah.
They don't care. Wait, so he survived.
He survived.
Is he still preaching?
He's still preaching, I think. Yeah, as far as I know.
Okay.
Yeah. It's illegal in Kentucky and a couple other places. They usually only prosecute when children are involved.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Other than that, they kind of ignore it because they don't want to get sued for violating freedom of religion. In West Virginia, it's still legal. And in Georgia, they had the death penalty for it at one point because a 7-year-old died.
For handling snakes?
Yeah, so the 7-year-old was in a church and they had...
Yeah.
But then in Georgia, it was like from now on, if you're caught handling snakes in a church service, you can get the death penalty. Nobody would convict them of that because that seems like a pretty big punishment for handling a snake.
Well, it's not. See, the thing is, it's not handling a snake. It is endangering.
Yeah, it isn't
people.
Exactly.
Stupid, gullible people in a vulnerable state is like, here, just here, handle this.
Yeah,
it's like giving kids lit firecrackers.
Yeah.
And say, squeeze them tight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then that law was repealed in 1968 because nobody would convict them. And I think in Georgia now, I'm not sure if it's illegal at all, but it's not really prosecuted.
Yeah.
So sometimes the cops will do little sting operations
to kind of slow it down a little bit
to try to slow it down and save some lives, I guess.
I want to bounce back quick.
Yeah.
We were saying about if the Spirit compels you or whatever that is. I find that such a weird thing.
Yeah.
It's just if you think that it's pushing you to come do it.
Yeah.
It seems like such a weird way to just define someone with a dumb impulse to do something.
Yeah, exactly. And even after this guy was bit, he said something about, I guess I wasn't listening to the Spirit properly or whatever. I should have been more aware of the Spirit or whatever. And so often too, if somebody does die, they'll be like, "Oh, he must have
wasn't listening to the Spirit."
Yeah, he wasn't listening to the Spirit, or he had sin in his life he wasn't being honest about, or it's always blame the person. I mean, I kind of blame the person because they picked up a poisonous snake, but I
blame everyone.
Yeah, I blame the whole system. I blame this Henley guy.
I mean, it goes back. It's the same with when you see people speaking in tongues, or they start shaking and fall on the ground and stuff.
Yeah,
they're getting so caught up in this kind of mass hysteria, and they do
exactly
weird things.
Yeah,
the speaking in tongues thing is another thing we've talked about, but I find that so weird.
Oh yeah, and it's very much. I mean, we talked about it in the Marcho episode where it's that whole group dynamic thing where you're just you want to pray for this person and till they speak in tongues, and this person's tired of all these people around them, so they're just gonna start speaking in tongues, so they'll move on to the next person. Or
that's fair.
It
always looks like almost like you don't want to be embarrassed because you don't think that you're speaking in tongues.
Yeah,
so you just do it anyway.
Yeah,
and then after a while, you just start believing it.
You start getting used to it, and you start getting used to like,
oh yeah, this is happening,
gibberish. And you feel really euphoric because you're in this like group setting where everybody's jumping and singing and praising God, and then you've convinced yourself you're speaking a holy language, so you just get so excited, and because you're excited about being in this environment, you feel like that's the Holy Spirit like coming upon you. And must be the same with like these snake things.
I was going to say, so imagine that plus the danger of handling a venomous creature.
Yeah. So this guy Jamie Coots was Cody Coots' father.
Okay.
He was a star of a reality show called Snake Salvation.
Was he actually?
Yeah. So it was like some TLC or something like that had a show about, and I
used to watch like Venom ER and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Well, he was charged in 2013 because he had some snakes in his car, and he was like pulled over, and he had venomous snakes without a permit. And he got a fine for that. So he wrote an op-ed for the Wall Street Journal about how it's like a violation of his religious freedom to be charged for having these snakes.
Religious snakes?
Yeah, these religious snakes. He died on February 15th of 2014. Do you want to guess how he died?
Snake bite?
Yes.
I mean, if it was like pancreatic cancer, that would have been...
Yeah, it would have been a funny twist, no, it was a snake bite. He died within 5 minutes, I guess, of being bitten. Like, he was just down.
Jeez.
Yeah. Oh, no, he wasn't 5 minutes. He was a little longer than that, but because his wife turned away the ambulance, somebody called 911. His wife had to sign some forms saying that they're refusing medical service, and he died. Yeah, so it was more than 5 minutes. But yeah.
So he probably suffered for a little bit.
Yeah. Really bad for the snake. To be thrown up in the air, twisted around like that.
Oh, is that what they do?
They do. They they're dancing.
Like a baton?
Like a baton, basically. They're throwing it in the air, they're waving it around, and they're like swinging it in the air sometimes.
So why doesn't this fall under animal cruelty?
It kind of does, and there have been charges for that as well. But it's hard because it's like some of those areas, there's rattlesnakes everywhere, right? So it's like just kind of a local animal. It's not like endangered or anything.
They're almost like a pest too, right?
Yeah. So people aren't really caring, but it's still like you're subjecting them to some pretty cruel.
Yeah, if you're gonna kill it, kill it.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't flip it around.
Flip it around in church while everybody like screams and
If you get bit, you deserve it.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about some deaths.
Well, we already got 2.
Yeah. So when Hensley died, he was bitten on the wrist, and he died a couple days later. And then 1960, this guy named Lloyd B. Hill, he was killed in Georgia in an illegal ceremony that was not supposed to happen, and the clergy were arrested. Yeah, so the people,
Oh, that's I guess progress.
73, a 72-year-old woman was killed at a snake bite at a Pentecostal church. Yeah, I should mention too, like it started in the holiness movement, but a lot of small independent Pentecostal churches will do this.
Is this more of a regional kind of?
Yeah. It's pretty much just the Appalachians.
Okay.
Yeah. So
it's a very regional thing.
Very, very regional. Yeah. I guess there's like 2 or 3 in Alberta and BC.
Are there
in Canada?
actually?
Yeah. So like basically just in the south, and then just in those like a couple spots.
Rural west.
Yeah.
I guess
Alberta's basically the same as like it's basically Canada's southern
Is it?
United States.
I've never been.
So. Yeah, I lived there for like 10 years or whatever, and it depends on.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, it does. It depends on like which part. Very religious, kind of Bible Belt of Canada. So, 1985, Charles Herman at the Prince of the Apostolic Church of God, or was he the Prince of the Apostolic Church?
Or was he?
Yeah.
I don't think he was.
So he drank the strychnine and then got bitten by a couple snakes.
Wait, so he drank
no, just one snake.
He drank poison and then was bitten by a snake.
And then was bitten by a snake, and he died 36 hours later.
He got the double whammy.
Yeah. This guy named John Wayne Punkin Brown.
No, his last name was Punkin Brown?
No, his nickname was Punkin.
Oh.
And
John Wayne Brown?
So they called him Punkin. I guess that's like pumpkin. But
pumpkin, but in a regional dialect.
Yeah. He was been on the hand by a yellow timber rattler during a worship service, and he died. 15 minutes later, he was still preaching, and he just fell over dead. Yeah. His wife died 4 years earlier. Same thing.
Snake
So
bite?
his 5 children, by a snake bite.
Just alone because their dumb parents got bit by snakes.
Yeah. So they were raised by their grandparents. But yeah.
I mean, you can still preach without the snakes. You don't need the snakes.
You don't need the snakes. But how do you prove that God's got you covered? How do you prove that God's real? Because they're proving it.
Are they?
No.
By dying?
By dying. Yeah, that's the thing. If you know what, I would look into this more if all these people were bitten by poisonous snakes and they survived.
I would find better ways, like close-up magic.
Yes,
or something,
exactly.
You know?
Well, that's the thing. You wonder,
Magnets.
like,
how do they work?
Yeah, like a lot of faith healers, it's like there's a lot of tricks of the trade, right?
Yeah.
So like
it's not real.
Yeah, because it's not real. But these guys believe it so much that they're dying out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, which is probably for the best.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, you'd think, like, you wonder if it started with somebody de-poisoning a snake or taking their fangs out or something like that and convincing people that...
Well, I think that's what a lot of it was.
Yeah, like...
And I think I can't remember what it was. It was a movie or a TV show where this happened. That was one of the storylines. They were a snake handler.
Yeah.
And that's what they were doing. They were removing it. And then someone switched it for one that wasn't. I think the guy gets bit and he dies. And there's a whole thing around it.
Because, like, it would be a good scam if it's like...
I'm sure that's how it all started.
Yeah, but now it's like these people are like 10th generation snake handling preachers and they're just dying off.
Yeah.
I guess any religion, if you're raised in it, you're just going to believe it.
That's fair.
To a point.
I mean, there's a certain amount of childhood indoctrination in most of these things, right?
Yeah. Reverend Dwayne Long of Arthur's Chapel Church in Virginia, who died in 2004 from a snake bite. 2012 in West Virginia, a guy named Pastor Mark Wolford was bit, and then, bit in the leg. And his father also died from that 40 years earlier.
So is this whole thing based on those 2 brief little segments in the Bible that offhandedly mention handling snakes?
Yeah, all these people, like there's countless others that have died from this just based on one verse in the Bible that was added centuries later. And
that says you'll handle snakes.
Yeah, and another and 2 more. One a story about a miraculous healing from Apostle Paul, and another one saying you'll step on scorpions and snakes and you'll survive.
Okay.
So based on these 3 verses, that one of them very questionable whether it was supposed to be in the Bible, and the other one's not what's supposed to be in the Bible, and the other one's like just saying, hey, God's gonna protect you, and they build their whole theology around this. Yeah.
What a tenuous topic to kind of found your belief system on.
Yeah.
Well, it's not founding the belief system, but I mean, it's a core pillar of what they're putting out there.
Yeah, exactly. So these churches aren't really associated with each other so much as...
They're all independent.
But there's pretty much the same theological views. Like I said, King James only for most of them, probably all of them. A lot of times it's, classic, women have to have long hair, men have to have short hair.
Oh, is that a thing?
Yeah.
That women have to have long hair?
They have to have long hair, yeah. Women have to wear dresses.
Didn't Jesus have long hair?
Yeah. That's a common argument in Bible colleges. Like a lot of Bible colleges, you can't, you have to have your hair cut short and not have a beard. And then they'll put up a picture of Jesus with a beard and long hair.
Yeah, doesn't all your iconography show that Jesus has that?
Yeah, exactly.
And God and everyone else in the Bible?
Yeah, exactly.
So why do we have to cut our...
Yeah.
Well, do you know why that they started that? I know this is a bit off topic.
I think it's just, you're just supposed to look, because it was like, at the time, that's what professional and clean cut was. So they were trying to say that we have to present ourselves in a way that we're clean cut, and I don't know.
So there's no real reason.
There's no real reason. Yeah, it just became such a tradition.
I don't want to be hippies.
And I think there's one verse in the Bible that says it's a shame for a man to have long hair, But,
Does it say that?
Yeah, I don't know where that is, but
isn't there also a story where there's a guy in the Bible who, when his hair's cut, he becomes a weak loser?
Yeah.
So
yeah, Samson.
Yeah.
Which is a funny story too, because he gets like tricked in the dumbest ways. Like he has to be the dumbest person. Like
so he's a big dipshit.
He's a big dipshit.
And then he gets his hair cut off and becomes a big dumb loser.
Yeah. Yep. So very, very like Bible only kind of thing where all your theology is from the King James version. Very much like angry, yelly preaching at the pulpit usually, and like kind of old fundamentalist style churches, but with like a few people in it who aren't afraid of snakes.
Which, I mean, if you grew up in snake country, that makes sense.
Yeah. So,
I guess there's probably similar things in different regions where there's other animals and creatures that, you know, are local dangers that they kind of incorporate, right?
Well, I was saying at work today, I was like, this is a thing kind of in the South. And they're like, why not alligators? And I was like, well, I don't think there's any verses in the Bible about you'll pick up alligators.
Well, there might be.
There might be.
You can find an alligator verse in the Bible. Email us.
Yeah, exactly. So that's pretty much all I have about friggin' snake handlers. But it's a very interesting belief system.
I mean, snakes are cool.
Yeah.
They do a lot of neat stuff. Different ones. Their bites will do different things. Educate yourself. Know that it's not going to bring you closer to God. Well, it might if you die.
It might, bring you right to him.
Right to
his doorstep.
Right to his doorstep. But a lot of things will do that. Stepping out into traffic.
Yeah.
Playing with your brother's handgun.
Yeah, exactly.
Pissing off some mobsters. I don't know. There's a few other things.
Trying to tightrope walk between two tall buildings.
Autoerotic asphyxiation. All kinds of things that'll bring you there. But educate yourself. Learn about snakes. Learn about how fun they are. Watch what snake venom will do. Some of it'll melt your flesh. Some of it'll just cause you to bleed a bunch.
And some of them, like, they'll just
squeeze you till you're dead.
That's true. They will squeeze
swallow you whole.
There's a classic story about, a family who had a python, and the python would sleep in the kid's bed right beside it, and they told the vet that, and the vet was saying, he's just like waiting till he's big enough so he can swallow the kid whole.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Gonna just squeeze the kid in the middle of the night until their lungs collapse.
And you wonder why I've never touched a snake.
Because that's what they do.
Yeah.
Like with the constrictors. Every time you breathe out, they squeeze you tighter.
Really?
I'm pretty sure that's part of how it works. Is they wrap
sense.
Around you,
and
then you breathe out, and then they constrict, and then you breathe out, and it constricts, and then you can't breathe no more.
Oh no, thank you. Oh, like have you seen the movie Anaconda starring Jennifer Lopez?
Years ago.
Oh, good film.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna move on to our news segment.
Wait, one more quick question.
One more quick question.
Have we addressed why the pages of the Bible are so thin? Is it just to keep the book thin?
Oh yeah, it's to keep the book thin. Otherwise, you have these giant. Yeah, I actually have my old Bible that I used in youth group and stuff. And when I was pastoring right here, I thought I'd bust it out. Yeah, they have very thin pages because otherwise, you see those pictures of the old Bibles and they're huge books.
Oh, those are cool though.
Those are pretty cool. Yeah,
I'd rather have a big cool Bible.
Yeah, me too.
With regular pages.
Yeah, I'm gonna burn this one. I'm not burning the Bible, folks.
You're okay.
Yeah.
We should do a segment called Big Dumb Losers of the Bible.
Yeah, Big Dumb Losers. That'd be great, actually.
Anyway, let's move it on.
So this, let's call this, what want to call this Wonderful World of Woo? Is that a good name?
Wonderful World of Woo works.
Okay, that's what this is.
Get me some wolfsbane, also known as monkshood, in here, and a whole tray of flower remedies.
Oh, the chakras are fading. We need some crystals.
Wonderful World of Woo. What woo do you have for us today?
For today, I wanted to kind of ease my way into the wild world of anti-vaxxers. Oh, I know.
Those fun, lovely people.
Now, this is something that I'm not going to get into everything.
Yeah.
I'm barely scratching the surface, so I figured maybe we can kind of jump in a little bit and kind of test the waters a little bit. One thing I should say, while I was doing some research for this, I found a very nice infographic that details the whole history of the anti-vax movement, which I will give you the link to.
Okay,
and
yeah.
We'll put it out there because some things I didn't know, that there's a very long history of this.
Oh.
Some would say it even started back in France in 1763.
Whoa.
I mean, this is showing like the first immunizations in the
Yeah.
10th century BC China, which is insane.
Wow. Yeah.
And then banning inoculation in France because it wasn't proper. People weren't properly quarantined when they were inoculated, so people were like, "No, this isn't good."
Oh, okay.
Or sorry, they were like, "This isn't good."
Not good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a very long standing thing.
Okay.
I
had no idea. I thought Jenny McCarthy started it.
Speaking of Jenny McCarthy, why don't we start with her?
Okay.
Because she's probably one of the biggest problems with the modern day kind of anti-vax movement. Maybe not the biggest problem, but she definitely popularized it and really kind of mainstreamed it. She's not the only one.
Okay.
I will say she is not. She is not the only one.
Okay.
And there are plenty of others. So let's kind of take a look at where we're at today. Okay, so there were 372 cases of measles reported in 2018, and they're saying that 2019 should exceed that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anti-vax parents are refusing to vaccinate. Through decades of research proves that it does work. So someone like Jenny McCarthy, as far as I know, too, she kind of flip-flopped on it, too. Later, she did,
yeah.
But she said that her son, Evan, has autism, and I guess she even later said that she had since healed her son of autism.
Oh, my God.
Quote, unquote. So we're kind of going
around
the garden path here. We're getting to it, but here, without a doubt in my mind, I believe that vaccination triggered Evan's autism.
Oh, my God.
So she believes that vaccination triggered autism in her son. She also said following biomedical treatment, which is basically changing the diet, giving vitamins and supplements, and detoxing the body. Editor's note, that's not a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't detox the body. That's not how
the body works. Yeah.
From metals or candida. I don't know what that is. And he recovered. And the reason the medical community has such a hard time with this is because we are treating and healing a vaccine injury. This is truly a revolution.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yes. So should we maybe talk about that a little bit before we move into anything else?
Sure, yeah.
Because that's very problematic in and of itself right there when you're claiming that something that saves lives is causing injuries.
Yeah. Well, I don't remember where it was. Maybe even you showed me this, but somebody was talking about how many scientists are on the spectrum, the autism spectrum, and how it's actually the other way around. Autism causes vaccines.
Yes, I have heard that before.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very good point, too.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing, too, is the very strong vilification of autism itself as well. I'm sure there's a lot of autistic people or people on the autism spectrum who would argue that it's necessarily this life-debilitating disease that some of these people claim it to be, and that their children will be ruined forever, and that they're probably better off dead or something.
Yeah.
I don't know how they feel.
They'd rather their kid have measles than have autism. That's for sure.
Which is bizarre.
Yeah,
I think I'd rather my kid, have autism than measles, but
I just think I'm not gonna have kids.
Yeah, I probably won't.
Don't want either, right?
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm gonna edit that part out, but they don't want.
No, keep it in. It's fine.
Okay.
What else did she say? People are also dying from vaccinations. So she said her son died in front of her for 2 minutes. And you ask any mother in the autism community if we'll take the flu, the measles over autism any day of the week. I think they need to wake up and stop hurting our kids.
Wow.
So she's saying a lot of the people she talks about in the community that she talks about would rather their kids get the flu or measles, things that could very easily kill or permanently disfigure or permanently injure a child.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
She would rather that than autism in a child. The reason why the medical community is reluctant to talk about it is because there's such a huge business in pharmaceuticals. Now, this is something that I find interesting, too.
Yeah.
And I can understand a distrust of the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
Especially given light to the whole opioid epidemic and everything. That being said, vaccinations like the MMR vaccine or things for very common or very preventable communicable diseases that have been shown to be almost completely wiped out but are making a resurgence because of these people.
Yeah.
That's not the pharmaceutical company trying to sell you vaccines.
No.
That's medical professionals telling you we're trying to save your children.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. For all that the pharmaceutical companies are guilty of, I don't think making up.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's the difference too. It's not just the pharmaceutical companies pushing something. It's years of medical research.
Yeah.
It's evidence. It's statistics. It's children not dying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Something like polio or smallpox or any of these things. Things that vaccines have very clearly shown to prevent and in most cases and eradicate.
Exactly.
Except for what's happening now. Back in that infographic, it gave a good thing about, I think it was for measles, they were saying. Measles were eliminated in 2000. There were no cases of measles transmitted by patients within the U.S., and all cases were imported by infected patients from outside the U.S.
Wow.
So that was in 2000, and that's showing that a vaccinated country where there was a strict regimen of vaccinations being applied to young children who were able to be vaccinated, which is another reason for vaccinations.
Yeah, like herd vaccination.
That herd immunity for the children who can't get those vaccines. And there are a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. Our roommate is allergic to something in vaccines, so he can't get them. Yeah.
And that's why I'm not getting vaccinated.
Yeah. Actually, if we had to get rid of one person in this house.
Oh, no, we're kidding.
It'd be Colin and then
him.
Him, yeah.
So,
yeah.
I found an interview on fatherly.com, which I'd never heard of before. But the interview is with someone who founded this website called Jenny McCarthy bodycount.com.
Oh, I've heard of this. Yeah.
Yes. So he doesn't update it anymore. I think he stopped in, looks like this goes from June 3rd, 2007 to July 18th, 2015.
Yeah.
I guess because he had kids and he was like, I don't have time to do this anymore. But he has an anti-vaccine body count. So I think this is just for the U.S. The number of preventable illnesses on the site is totaled at 152,763 from June 3rd, 2007 to July 18th, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And the number of preventable deaths at 9,028 in that same time period. And then right here, number of autism diagnoses scientifically linked to vaccines. Can you guess how many?
I'm gonna guess 0.
It's 0.
It's 0. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is a fun little site. We'll put that up for people to look. It's very simple. There's a nice little FAQ. There's this little thing here called "What's the harm in not getting vaccinated?" as well. So
okay, yeah,
I think this might be a good thing. And there's some pictures of children with measles and mumps and rubella and a lot of really horrible things that you don't want anyone to have, let alone small children.
So if you think about it, snake handling. You know, it seems like, oh, those are crazy, insane idiots, but they're just killing themselves.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I want to agree with that, but I also want to say that they're not just killing themselves.
That's true.
They are affecting
children.
other people.
Yeah, there are children that were killed. Yeah.
One of the other points I was reading that this is a big thing, I think, in the States because so much of it is about individual freedoms and liberty, where it's like my choice to do this. It's my right as a citizen to do this. And as much as I want to say, like, yes, you should have the freedom to do these things, you have to realize that your actions do have consequences.
100%. But that's what I mean, like, with the snake handlers, like, it's just that small little, like, community that they're killing each other in. With anti-vax, it's like, you're killing so many people.
Yeah, you don't vaccinate
your children, other people's children, because, your
kid gets something, you send them to school, and then they give 3 other children who couldn't be vaccinated, who get diseases, and then they die. And then it spreads, and then it's just a horrible, horrible thing. And I think that's a good starting point for anti-vax. We want to know Jenny McCarthy rant.
But is she still going to host the New Year's Eve party this year? Probably.
I'll be watching.
Yeah,
I won't be.
No,
but if I was,
it'd be for Jenny McCarthy.
It'd be for Jenny McCarthy.
I almost said McCartney, but that's not right. Well, thanks, Damien. That was informative, and we'll be back for more. Thanks, everyone. Like, comment, subscribe.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Work, Sky Moon.